What is up, my friends? It is Saturday night, and you are very welcome along to tonight's a little bit earlier than normal late night agenda. Of course, we're going to speak about Liverpool's search and need for a centre back in this video. We're going to talk about Alexander Isak and his future as Newcastle look to be chasing down strikers. We're going to speak about a few other bits and pieces, of course, talking about the game today, Arne Slot's post-match press conference, and anything else, of course, that you guys would like to discuss. The floor is yours. Just seen JC gifted 10 memberships in the chat as we were starting. Absolute gentleman, sir. Thank you, JC. JC just back from a nice trip to Las Vegas. Hope it went well. Well, I know it went well because you sent me the pictures. So, yeah, nice to see you all. So how do we feel after earlier on? I know a lot of people were getting worked up during the game, and it's very rare that I get to be the voice of reason and tell people to calm down about it. But, it was an interesting afternoon earlier on. It taught us a few things. It taught us if we persist with that high line, that teams like AC Milan with that pace could find ways to exploit it. It taught us that we certainly do need to bring in centre-backs because, well, just sheer numbers-wise, we need to do it. But I thought there were some bright spots in there as well. I thought Dominic Szoboszlai looked really good. Really happy with Trey Nyoni. I thought young Rio did well. So, yeah, good minutes in the legs, and I'm happy enough with it. Wasted opportunities, said my memories. Look, yeah, but it's pre-season. If we're going to make mistakes or waste some of these chances or whatever, it's probably best we do it in pre-season, isn't it? It is what it is, It's a nice 90 minutes under the belt. Good to see 49 and a bit thousand people in the stadium as well. Virgil, again, was talking about the pitch a little bit, which did look great to me as an observer, but look, job done. One more game on Wednesday against Yokohama Marinos, and then it's back to the UK, and of course that double header against Athletic Club. Right, so there were some good showings, said Frank Slater. Young Rio made me smile ear to ear, said Ed McKenzie. Darren Tracy said Rio's a 16-year-old kid did not look out of place on the park. He didn't. You're right, mate. He looked exciting. I love the ball, by the way, from Gravenberch into that channel to set up Szoboszlai's goal. I thought that the ball from... I'm almost certain it was Gravenberch, if my memory's right. It was an incredible ball into the space. But yeah, interesting stuff there. Bits to learn. But again, I think if I'm going to look at a negative, what today showed me is that I still don't think Tyler Morton is there, and I don't think we're going to see Tyler Morton stay at Liverpool. I don't think. For me today, as much as it's unfair to judge anybody in a preseason game, I just didn't see it with him today. I thought he was caught in possession a few times. That ball from Costas as well, back to Marmadash, really at the end of it was shocking. But look, it is what it is. Thankfully, no new injury concerns. And we'll discuss what Arne said, which was basically that, yes, Luis Diaz was left out because of the speculation around his future. But he said that Darwin Nunez had a slight knock and that's why he didn't play today and that he should be available for selection on Wednesday. Adam, how are we, dude? Said, think we need two centre-backs. Gomez injured again. Don't think Endo can cut it back there. So I've been talking about the two centre-back thing for a while, Adam. And I always understood that maybe people disagreed with me. But for me, we never really replaced Joel Matip. And I agree on two. I think one is a bare minimum. But like your good self, mate, I wouldn't say no to two. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Liam Mansell, how are we, Liam? Hello to you as well, mate. Welcome in. 7 months with us as a member. Absolute legend. S4T, how are you, my friend? Over in South Africa. You said the fact we had two left backs on the field and neither were where they needed to be when we needed them is absolutely wild. Yeah, I don't like this. I know we have to do it in pre-season because of sheer numbers, but I don't like seeing Robbo and Costas playing at left-sided centre-back. Don't like it one bit. But yeah, look, I think you've turned me around now. I think finally I'm on the side of the next player in defo needs to be a centre-back. I was a bit more relaxed about it, but I agree with you all from today's showing. It shows we need it. And look, I want to read you out what Arne said because, I think a lot of us would respectfully disagree with what our manager said about centre-backs. If you haven't heard, this is what he said. I don't think we have a concern at centre-back, looking at Virgil van Dijk. Ryan showed he could play that position. He did it as well, though we favour him as number 6. Endo can play there, so we have enough options, but it is true that Jarell Kwanzaa left and we haven't replaced him yet. And the yet word there gives me hope. But I do think we need to get ourselves a centre-back in as soon as possible. And I also would like to figure out what's going on with Canade. Some people believe that the reason that the manager hasn't told people who the new assistant or backup captain is or vice captain is because some people believe it's Canade. I haven't got a clue what to believe on it, to be honest. I don't know who it's going to be. But Arne Slot has confirmed that he has decided on the vice captain but won't yet reveal it. So let's wait and see. Right, so Arsenal also tonight confirmed the signing of Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon, despite some of their fans pleading for them to cancel that medical and go to try and sign Isak. That has been confirmed tonight. Newcastle are also shopping around for strikers, and surely that tells us one thing. Surely we have to now get to the point where we're admitting that Newcastle are shaping up to replace Isak. So obviously we know they were chasing down Šeško. They've lost the race for Visa by the looks of it because, well, they're walking away and Brentford are demanding more money. So they're looking at other targets. We'll talk about that tonight as well. This one here said, from Ben Jacobs, said exclusive, Brentford have closed the door on a Johan Visa exit after Newcastle raised their bid to over 30 million. Visa was refusing to train and disappointed by Brentford's stance. Player feels that Brentford have broken a pact allowing him to leave for 26 million and he wants to play Champions League. So there were other targets that Newcastle were after as well. Ollie Watkins is a name that's been mentioned. Nicholas Jackson is a name that's been mentioned. Now, why do you think they're going after 2 strikers? Come on. We got to be adult about this now. Newcastle are, by the looks of it, trying to shore things up before they sell Isak. That's the way I'm reading this situation. And I know maybe Newcastle fans still think there's no chance he goes. Hell, I've got some friends who support other clubs who don't think we're going to get Isak. But for me, it does shape up like he's looking to leave at this point. And if Nicholas Jackson, Benjamin Šeško, Ollie Watkins are all options, and Visa, of course, as well, then Newcastle are looking to bring in 2. Surely we can only assume why. Is because they're going to sell Isak. Newcastle fan, said Andrew Barwick. I don't know if you meant you're a Newcastle fan, mate. If so, welcome in. Genuinely, it's nice to have you in. Lewis Noble said, good chance Newcastle struggle this year. And look, I think Newcastle still have a good squad. You know, look at the midfield. They've got Bruno Guimaraes. They've got Sandro Tonali, 2 very good players. Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, Anthony Elanga. At the moment, they still have Isak, albeit, you know, we think he might go. They're going to bring in a striker or 2. Trying to hold on to Tino Livramento is going to be a big thing for them as well because, you know, we know Manchester City are sniffing around him, but Newcastle look like they're trying to dig their heels in to keep Tino Livramento. And that would be a big loss to them because he's a pretty good player, Livramento. Right. Worried about the defence, said Red. I get it, but let's be... I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way, mate. We absolutely need a centre-back. No argument, but let's look at it logically. We haven't seen a proper back four in pre-season, or even close to a proper back four in pre-season. So today we had the first half where obviously we had Robbo at left-sided centre-back. Second half, Costas at left-sided centre-back. First half, playing right-back, we had Stevenson. So I'm not really worried about the makeup, but I am worried about the numbers of the back four, especially centrally. But like I've said, I do have faith we'll bring one in. But who that one might be, well, we're going to try and take a look at that on tonight's late night video. We're going to look at a few options and try to figure out who we think could be the best fit. And Joe Gomez thing, well, I'll tell you what, anything Liverpool weren't holding back, were they? So they put up a post to say, Arne Slot on our centre-backs, we have enough options. And then they posted to say, no, Arne, we don't. Joe Gomez isn't an option. He's a liability. And then they posted to show the number of days he's been injured for Liverpool per season. And look, I'm not saying they don't have a very good point. I'm a big fan of anything Liverpool. I think they're a great account. But the liability part, I think, is a little bit strong. I mean, if I said Gomez was a liability, I'd be rinsed. But they have a point with the injuries. When you look at the numbers, last season, 137 days missed through injuries for Liverpool. 23-24, much better season for Joe Gomez, only 6 injured. 22-23, 22 games missed. 21-22, 33. 2021, 232 days missed. 19-20 was the best year, only 2 games missed there for Joe, or 2 days missed, sorry. 18-19, 132. 17-18, 84. 16-17, 129. And 15-16, 230 or 224. So certainly plenty of injuries. Where did they say this? X, mate. I'm looking at the post right now. Well, I'm not sure if it's still on X, but I'm looking at the post here. Joe Gomez basically doesn't exist as an option. Always injured. He's not always injured, but I do agree with anybody who believes you can't go into the season expecting him to be fit for the whole season. That's not going to happen. So you're not going to get any argument from me about the need for a centre back. Absolutely. But let me ask, how many do you think we need? Let's ask this question. Thank you, Sabrina. He was barking out the back. Thank you. Right, so how many centre-backs do we need? 1, 2. I have to put in the option of none because it wouldn't be fair of me not to. But if anybody votes none, they've lost the plot. So how many centre-backs do we need? Right. Cool. There we go. Have a vote on that one, and we'll get back to it in a while. For me, I'm thinking bare minimum 1. But it depends on Nallo, if he's going to be utilised, or Stevenson, or even though Stevenson's a central defensive midfielder by trade, I believe. So, yeah, for me, 1 is a bare minimum, but I can't really disagree with 2. I can't disagree. I can totally understand why anybody would say 2. No pushback for me on that one. But I think we need 1 in quickly. And the reason I think we need 1 in quickly is the obvious reason. Time for Arna to bed them in. Time for them to get some minutes maybe before the season starts. And you would have to believe that Liverpool know that and are going to work on that now. Again, though, no real concrete links out there for a specific name. But I think we all know the list of centre-backs that we've been talking about at least. Stevie boy, how are we, dude? How did you rate Elliot's performance and should he stay? So, I thought Elliot was good. I'm a fan of his. It's never been a question for me if Elliot's good enough to play for Liverpool or not. It's a question of his development and his minutes. Do I think he stays? I don't. I don't because I think ultimately he's going to look at it and think, I need to go and get minutes. This is a time now where he's got to push on. He'll have eyes on wanting to get to the World Cup with England as well. And as much as I'd be more than happy to have him stay, if I'm in his position, I'm moving at this point because you've already seen very limited minutes last season. We've just brought in Florian Wirtz ahead of him. I just don't see it. I just don't see how he gets enough game time to really push him on. But selfishly, would be more than happy if he stayed. You know, I'm a fan of Harvey Elliott. NBK Live said, how has Gomez lasted this long? The man has made a glass mediocre when he does play. See, that's bullshit. Sorry, mate. I'll give you the glass part and the injuries. But to say he's mediocre when he does play, I think is very harsh. Joe Gomez is anything but mediocre. You can have a valid argument about the injuries. I can't really push back on that. But come on. He's a good defender. There's no need to be saying he's not good enough. That's just wrong. Dom, thank you, mate. Gay gone quiet. Is Liverpool will only pay 40, Palace 145.50. I don't know what the situation is there. I don't know why somebody removed the post that said other BS, because I'm almost certain that the other BS wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed at the Joe Gomez comment. So mods, relax. Perhaps Elliot is too similar. Some of our other players, said Neil. I think Jones progressed ahead of him last year, and I don't really see, with the addition of Florian Wirtz, how Elliot gets the game time. But look, ultimately the decision will be his, and if he wants to stay, I'm sure Arne would be happy to keep him around. Jen, thank you. Very kind. Appreciate you. Matthias said, I'm so glad John finally found his wallet. Michelle said it wasn't aimed at you. I didn't think it was, Michelle. No, that's why I was defending the comment, mate. I didn't think it was aimed at me. Because it was a very strange comment about Gomez, like I mentioned. You can talk about his availability and his injuries, but as a player, he's a very good player. Like you, Matthias, I'm happy he found his wallet as well, but, you know, we've still got a job to do in this window. We're not quite finished yet. Oh, done Matthias's one. Sorry, mate. Let me bring this one back up. Stargirl said, Dad thinks we could be playing Ekitike and Isak up front together, which would be terrifying for the opposition. I've been trying to figure that out myself, and I think I'm in the same camp as your dad on this one. I think we probably will be looking to play them both together, but what I'm trying to figure out just now is, will that be Ekitike dropping into the left channel perhaps? Or are we going to have a system where, like, I'm trying to even think of the formation now that I'm trying to think of. You know, you're going to see something like a 4-1-2-2-2, maybe. We played a 4-2-3-1, or at least a 4-2-3-1 was the formation being spoken about during the week. Yeah, I just need to see Ekitike on the pitch and see if he is utilised on the left side at all, because it's certainly a very interesting comment, Stargirl, and I do believe you're right that the likelihood is we're looking to bring in both. That's why I'm struggling to figure out if we're actually after a wide player at all anymore. You know, we've seen today Everton went in for young Fofana. No reaction as of yet from Liverpool or any other clubs that I'm aware of. So it just makes me feel like maybe we're not going to bring in a wide player. Niall said, heard a great comment this week around how difficult it'll be to sign players next summer because of the World Cup. Get the business done now. Yeah, that's a very fair comment. Between the World Cup and extra holidays and stuff, yeah, I think that's a good comment, mate. I agree with you. Cameron said, do you think the title race will be between Liverpool and Arsenal? I mean, yes, but I'm just trying to think, would I add another name to the list, Cameron? I do think Liverpool and Arsenal, the unknown here is maybe Manchester City and Chelsea. You know, what type of season are we going to see from Manchester City? Are they really going to be, you know, back to something resembling themselves? Chelsea, how are all these signings going to gel together? Are they going to be buoyed and confident after the Club World Cup win? But yeah, if I was to pick two teams, Cameron, I probably would agree with you, mate. Liverpool and Arsenal probably the most likely. There's going to be some serious determination from those Arsenal boys this year to want to try and get one of the big ones. So I do think it's going to be fun. I think we're in for a great season, by the way. I think, you know, look at the comment that was made to me during the week that I wanted to actually praise was, this really has seemed to be a summer where the top clubs have gone back to taking the best players from the middle clubs and the clubs in the chase and pack. We've seen a lot of players brought in from Europe and abroad, but it feels like this summer a lot of clubs are going back to trying to cherry pick that best talent from the Premier League. Steve Tufnell, how are we, dude? Gay is my number one choice for centre-back. I'm with you, Steve, I'm with you. Even if Canade stays, I'd be moving for Mark Gay, because then we've got three very, very good centre-backs, and of course Joe, who's a very good centre-back, but like we've mentioned, you'd have to question his availability at times. But I'm with you, Steve. But, you know, I can't say with any confidence that Liverpool will move in that direction. But I do agree with you. And he'd be my first choice as well. The real Johnny Sin said, how jobless do some of these rival fans have to be tuning into another team's pre-season games and clowning Wirtz because he didn't score in 45 minutes? It's a very strange phenomenon, isn't it? And it's something that I called out earlier on. I don't get it. Like, I could barely even tell you who some of our rival teams are playing in pre-season. Like, I haven't followed any of them, really. Seen a few bits and pieces. I know, for instance, United are on tonight, I think, against West Ham. I know Arsenal played AC Milan the other day, but apart from that, I certainly wouldn't be dropping in, watching their games and dropping into watchalongs and stuff to try and troll. But what I take from that, mate, is that they're worried about us. And they should be. And they're looking for anything to try and make themselves feel better. DCP said, who's your next dream 3 signings for Liverpool? And thank you, mate, for being with us as a member for 22 months. Who's my dream 3 signings? Isak, Mark A. And if I'm being really, really honest and blunt about it, I wouldn't say no to Angelo Stiller, although I believe he's coming back from an injury. But if I could pick 3 to be greedy, I'd probably go with those 3, or 2 centre-backs and Isak. So let's say either Gay and Cresswell, or Gay and Angelo Stiller from a DM position. So one of those variations, mate, would be where I'd be looking at. And Neville said, could Arne go 3 at the back, weird centre-back position? We just don't have enough centre-backs to go 3 at the back. It would be asking for trouble, in my opinion, to go to 3 at the back, especially after bringing in the fullbacks we brought in as well. It just wouldn't really make sense for me. And like I said, we need 6 centre-backs, in my opinion, if we're going to play with 3 at the back. And I don't like what he said today. I don't like him talking about Gravenberch there. I don't like him talking about Endo there. Because, let's be honest, would we buy those players to play at centre-back? Like, would we ever buy Endo to bring into Liverpool as a centre-back? No, we wouldn't. Because he's nowhere near tall enough. He's nowhere near aerially dominant enough to play in that position. Now, we know he can play there because he's played there plenty of times. But we wouldn't go and sign him for that position. So I don't buy into this shoehorning players into positions just because we don't have enough bodies. No, we got to go out there and sign them. Stargirl said, Dad just said, like in his day, Dalglish and Rush. So it's a big comparison to live up to Stargirl, but God, imagine if we're ever talking about the boys in that type of context, then they've done well. Endo's an emergency centre-back, nothing more, said DJT. Endo's awesome in the air. What? I'm not saying he's not good in the air, as in he can't win a header, but I'm not having him jumping against a 6'4" centre forward and thinking Endo's going to win it. But, Endo is handy. But let's not be blunt, he's not amazing in the air. He's not going to go in there and dominate in the same way Van Dijk would. Too early to jump the gun. We need to fortify positions on field before thinking of a treble. Oh, I'm not thinking that far ahead, mate. I would say going into this season, the aim has to be one of the 2 big ones. I think that's fair with the money we've spent. I think that expectation is justified. But you got to go out there and do it first, right? So we'll know soon enough. I can't wait till we actually see a strong Liverpool 11 out there for a game in pre-season, because we haven't really seen that yet. We've seen bits and pieces of it, but we've had nothing even close to what you'd consider a starting 11 playing together yet. Owen said, we could use but don't need wingers. We need centre-backs. I hope Gabe, but someone else is fine. The Kwanzaa sale may have been a howler from us. I have to feel, Owen, that when we sold Kwanzaa, the plan's always going to be to replace him. I can't believe that these people who are so good would make that mistake. So there's certainly an argument as to where is this centre-back and why is it taking this long. But yeah, I can only believe that the plan is to bring one in. But again, if we know what's happening with Canade, we probably have a better conversation to be had here about exactly what we're looking for. But as of yet, we still don't know what's going on with Ibu. So I guess that's only adding to some of the fear that we feel at the minute. Am I a season ticket holder? Yeah, I am, mate. Yeah, I run a YouTube channel that does watch-alongs of every game, and I'm a season ticket holder who's also at the games at the same time, because that's how fucking awesome I am. And also, I live in Ireland, so there's that aspect of it as well. So I swim across every time from Dublin to Liverpool, go to the game, and while I'm in the game, I'm also live streaming from back here in Ireland at the same time with the world's most watched Liverpool watch-along. So I'm a busy fella. But, I managed to do it somehow because I'm that good. Don't be a knob. Well, do you want me to tell you why I was asking my season ticket holder? Because we were getting to the point where we were about to be belittled for not going to every game. Because I've seen this situation hundreds of times on the channel. So I can spot a shithouse comment a mile off, mate. Now we know how Craig's lost weight. He's swimming to the matches. Oh, I tell you, I wouldn't last. I can barely swim. My wife's a very strong swimmer. My wife's a qualified lifeguard, actually. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be swimming that far, mate. God Almighty, I'd be finished in 50 meters. Ryan, how are we, dude? Said, in order, what's your most desirable to win? Champions League, Prem, League Cup, FA Cup, Club World Cup, Community Shield, and Super Cup. So, right, let's work from the top down. I'm not going to lie, I'm usually Champions League. That's usually my top priority if I could pick a trophy. So I'm going to say Champions League, Premier League. For me, it's League Cup, but I know everybody else will say FA Cup. So I'd say League Cup, FA Cup, Club World Cup, Community Shield. No, Club World Cup, Super Cup, Community Shield. So Champions League, Premier League, League Cup, FA Cup, Club World Cup, Super Cup, Community Shield. Probably in that order. But this season, I'd love us to go back to back and win the Prem again. If you ask me just for this season, I'd probably go for the Prem because I'd love to shut up so many of those fans who thought we fluked it last year by doing it again this year. That would be incredible to do it back to back. Craig, are you having a holiday / break? You don't stop, which is appreciated. I am. I usually try to take my holidays in the international breaks. So I have a trip to Turkey booked for October. And I was away in March. So yeah, the next time we're going on a break is October. Probably take a few days off during the September international break though, but I don't see this as work, to be honest, mate. It's a pleasure to be on here chatting with you guys all the time. It's an honour. Yorkshire tea, just sending big love. Nice. Send a drop of tea as well, mate, will you? Because Yorkshire tea is pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie. It's a good cup of tea. Turkey teeth? No, not quite. If I was going to Turkey, though, I wouldn't mind getting the teeth at some point. The teeth, maybe a beer transplant, if I'm being honest. But nah, just going because we like Turkey. And we're going over for 11 nights. So yeah, should be fun. Craig, I've seen the Newcastle chairman come out a few days ago to say Isak will not be sold this summer. What's your view on this? Respectfully, I don't believe a word of it. And here's why I don't believe it, right? I'm not, again, trying to come out and belittle Newcastle or anything like that. But I'm a man who works off what I see happening. And what I see happening is Newcastle trying to bring in 2 attackers. And why are they trying to bring in 2 attackers? Now, I mean 2 central attackers. You can only assume that they're trying to do it because they're going to lose Isak. So you've got Sesko, let's say, as one option, and then Visa was the 30 million option. Now you've got Ollie Watkins as the potentially cheaper option, and then Nicholas Jackson's name in the mix as well. So common sense would surely dictate that if they're looking to bring in 2 attackers, that they're going to sell Isak. That's all I can think at this moment in time. And Craig Hope, who again is the Daily Mail correspondent that covers Newcastle, said Alexander Isak doesn't want a new contract at Newcastle. He wants Liverpool, and Newcastle know this. And I gotta give credit to Craig Hope because I've really appreciated his sincerity in all of this because, you know, he's a born and bred Geordie, I believe. Certainly from that neck of the woods. And speaks passionately about his family going to celebrate the League Cup win. So I'm sure it's not easy, but I do appreciate his sincerity and honesty in this and seeing that Isak just wants to move. I seen even Gabby Logan did a video trying to convince Isak to stay. I'm not going to mock Gabby for that. Gabby Logan's brilliant and I'm a huge fan. But they can surely read the room now that he wants to leave. And he does want to leave. How much would Rush cost if he was in his prime now? Oh my days. And thank you, John Hughes. Oh God, mate, how would you put a price on Rushy? I'm saying I'm saying 150 minimum right now. Like 150 for Ian Rush. For the numbers that man did, 150. And that's a minimum at this point. Honestly, he'd be in demand hugely. Owen said, anyone know about Stefan? He had a hamstring injury and had an operation at the end of the season and is still recovering from it. I want to see more of that from Szoboszlai this season, said Christ Child. He was brilliant today. I thought he was full of running, full of energy, and looked really sharp. Ekitike also can play left wing. I wouldn't certainly think of Ekitike as playing left wing, but truth is, we don't know what the plan is and how Arne wants to set up, but hearing Ekitike speak about being this versatile forward certainly makes you think that maybe Arne is going to bring in another one. And look, with DIAZ now moving on, if Liverpool are entering into this conversation with Bayern, which they clearly are right now, you'd have to believe that we wouldn't sanction that sale unless we knew that we had plans to bring in at least one more attacker. Fuentino said, I watch Frankfurt a lot. He can definitely play on the wing. Well, I know he played in it too, obviously, with Marmouche at one point when they were both together, but I'd be a liar if I told you I've watched much of Frankfurt. I haven't seen little bits and pieces of them in the Europa League at one point, but yeah, certainly wouldn't say I'm an avid viewer. Craig, are you a biscuit dunker or non-dunker? No, I don't like having a biscuit with my tea or coffee because the sweetness makes me not want to drink the coffee. So yeah, I'd be eating biscuits without any hot drinks. If we're going for Isak, Nunez is as good as gone. We won't be keeping so many strikers on the books. Well, I told you all months ago Nunez was gone. I mean, I know some people don't want to hear it, but he's gone. And I'm guessing he'll end up in Saudi at this point. I think Al Hilal are the most likely candidate to come in for him. Right, let's catch you up on the post from earlier on from Santiago Una, who said Bayern Munich is getting closer to signing Luis Diaz. Talks between the clubs are ongoing and progressing well, and the German club is confident that a deal will be closed for around 75 million euro. Diaz was not included in today's squad due to the progress in negotiations. And you'd have to say, that's probably not too far wrong. Because, Liverpool wouldn't be leaving him out and openly saying because of negotiations if something wasn't progressing a little bit there. Naturalist says, why do people keep thinking Nunez will stay when it's so clear he'll be gone? Look, like I said, it's a really delicate situation and it's very difficult to push back on anybody who wants to support a player. So I'm trying to be as respectful as I can around the Nunez situation because, like I said, I do appreciate that there are fans that want the players to do well, even the likes of Darwin, who hasn't really lived up to it. It's tough to argue at people about that. I got a funny feeling that we go for Tyler Dibbling with Isak, said Sam Wilbridge. Well, I'm actually surprised that there haven't been bids for him this summer, mate. It's a really good point that you've made because at one point Southampton were talking about him as a £100 million player, and now the fee I'd seen was a lot closer towards 40, 45. So yeah, surprised that maybe there hasn't been more interest there from somebody. Eid said, I'm not sure Nunez will be gone. Well, I can tell you, I'm 100% sure he's gone. Because Arne doesn't want them. So, again, I know more on this than I'm saying publicly. But for me, if you want me to give you a percentage chance, 5% he stays, 95% he goes. So Fabrizio Romano said this about Isak. He said his full focus is Liverpool, Newcastle are continuing to go big for Benjamin Šeško, concrete negotiations ongoing and working to present the project and offering an important salary. They want to approach Leipzig as soon as the player is ready to say yes. This can be an important indication for the future of Isak. So I think we should be hoping Newcastle gets Šeško at this point, because that's going to give us the biggest indication that they may be coming to the table then for Isak. Will Danz be promoted to the first team? Well, he has to be fit, and that's been a problem for Jayden Danz. He's had that recurring back injury that's even hampered his progression in pre-season. So the last I'd read on Jayden, and again, it probably isn't the most up-to-date information, but there was talk of a late window loan move to Sunderland, which I think could be a great move for him. I know he was supposed to do it last season and didn't happen because of the injury, but if they're in the Prem and he moves there and gets games, I think that'll be good for us to see his development. Newcastle definitely shot themselves in the foot today by holding off on Isak and losing Ekitike. Well, one thing we don't know, to be fair, is if Ugo Ekitike was open to the move to Newcastle. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't, I just don't know. But we know that Liverpool made the play and he's now a Liverpool player. But after that, like I've said, why else would Newcastle be shopping for two strikers? You know, let's all be adults about this. They're only looking for two strikers because they know they're not going to have strikers. They're not going to need three strikers. They're not going to bring in Šeško and, let's say, Nicholas Jackson or Ollie Watkins if the plan is to have Isak as well, are they? So it just has to be a sale at this point. And he doesn't want to be there. Left training after 5 minutes, as per reports. It's surely at a point now where they're going to sell him. I know that they'll keep saying publicly they're not going to and all blah, 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 but come on. Let's be honest. Scenario. DIAZ leaves to Bayern. Do we ditch the Isak lead and go for Rodrigo? Is there a world where we lose Lucho and get Isak with no actual left wing to replace him? Well, I think you're overlooking Rio as an option on the left, and Cody Gakpo, and Wirtz, who can play on the left side, and maybe Ekitike if we bring in Isak. So the reason I've always been very doubtful about Rodrigo is the package, the cost of the entire package, including the wages. I just always thought that was going to be difficult for Liverpool to overcome if he's looking for 300 grand plus a week. So that's what, of 300, that's 50 million quid a year, 5-year deal, 75 million quid, plus the price assigned in him. I just think there's probably better value. And I think the fact that we haven't pushed for Fofana is a good indication that maybe we're not looking for a left winger. Because I can't think of many more outside of Rodrigo, obviously the one that you've mentioned that we've been really linked to. Owen said, just want to say I love this channel. It's helped me through a lot this month as I lost my uncle and cousin within 2 weeks. I'm so sorry to hear that, Owen. That's incredibly difficult, mate, for your family to go through. Our love, mate, sending you our love, and thank you for your kind words, but sincerely, I'm really sorry for what your family have gone through. S4T, how are we, dude? And again, thank you so much for your super chat. Said, I can see young Rio getting a bit more game time than we expect this season. He's absolutely brilliant and fearless. So, I've got to be honest. Going into the preseason, I was somewhat sceptical of whether I thought Rio was going to be good enough or prepared enough for this season. Now, I'm just a big fan. Now all I can think of is, let's not hold him back. Because I think he's brilliant. Now, he's not the finished product, but why the hell should he be at the age he's at as well? So I think Arna's been incredibly impressed by him and Trey Leone from a lot of what I'm reading. And that's why I keep talking about the defensive midfielder. I feel like Arna thinks between maybe your Bajcetić's, your McConnell's, and maybe the likes of Leone, that maybe he has somebody in there that can come in along with Endo and cover for Grafenberg if needed. You know, I don't know how anybody's been anything but impressed with Leone so far when we've seen him on the pitch. Probably unlucky not to get himself a goal today against Milan as well. See, Morton's just not good enough though, Christopher. That's why I didn't mention him. Morton is most likely going to be sold this summer. So yeah, for me, sales that we still have to be adult about and discuss here, we're probably going to see Diaz leave, Darwin will leave, Chiesa will probably go back to Italy, Tyler Morton will probably be sold, Elliot will be a decision for himself. If he wants to go, he'll go. If he wants to stay, I'm sure the club are happy for him to stay. So they're the sales that I can see still happening. Maybe a fringe player or two more. Petter said, Craig, really enjoyed the Liverpool game today. Dad, who is a Liverpool fan, is ill at the moment in hospital in Denmark. We watched it together. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad, Petter. Please send our love. It wasn't a great game for him as a Liverpool fan today, was it? But some bright sparks in it, mate. Some bright sparks in it. Shelbourne got beaten 3-0 by Qarabag in the first leg, and that was in Dublin. So not looking great there, but do send your dad our best, mate, and I hope he gets better soon. Rio needs to be used in early rounds of the FA and League Cups, or will he be loaned out? I definitely, Ty Bok, don't see a world where he's loaned out. I've never thought Rio was going to be loaned out. Maybe thought one more year with the 21s or whatever, but didn't expect him to be loaned out. And I think just based on what we're seeing in pre-season, he looks ready. He looks ready to take on quality defenders and no fear in him whatsoever. So I'm excited. I'm not saying he's ready to fill Diaz's shoes. I'm not saying he's at that level of ruthlessness or polished. Yeah, but put him in there. Why not? Cody Gakpo as well. Isak said, we're becoming too idealistic. Gay and Isak are enough. I don't think we need a left winger if Diaz goes and we get Isak. I don't expect us to get one, Isak, mate. I think you're right. Where I would maybe not disagree with you, bro, but I'd say there's open to a debate about whether we'd need that extra centre-back on top of, like you said, Mark Gay. I think there's certainly a world where I can understand people asking for two, but I expect one, like yourself. I think one and Isak, and that could be our window done, which, again, is an incredibly impressive window. Right, so we asked, how many centre-backs do we need? 66% of over 3,000 people that voted said that we need two centre-backs. So fans certainly feel too, and thank you, by the way, to everybody that took the time to vote in the poll. Appreciate you. Where's Calvin Ramsey? I think he's injured, but don't quote me on that. He's had nothing but injury problems since he's come to Liverpool. Even the loan spells that he's had haven't worked out because of injuries. But yeah, my best guess is injured because I haven't really seen or heard much of him, and certainly we haven't seen him in pre-season. Nathan Collins would be a good signing for us, said Shea Trainer. Oh, as an Irishman, dude, I'm with you. 100%. I think the problem Nathan Collins would have is that it's not a sexy enough name for some people. Now, I'm not saying that would stop Liverpool signing him, but I'm saying whenever I've brought up Nathan Collins before to people, they don't really appreciate how good he is, I think. So, but I agree with you. I'd take Nathan Collins as well. I think he's really good. Tom said, just in case you like bodybuilding, Kevin Levrone is to go. I don't, but my wife does. My wife trains. She's done a few competitions and stuff. Not bodybuilding, but weightlifting and stuff like that. And she trains in a gym with a load of lads that certainly are bodybuilders and take it very seriously. She's doing a thing with, what's his name? Oh, she's doing a course thing, an event with, what's his name? He was in hospital recently. American guy, black fella, huge big muscly lad. I can't think of his name off the top of my head because I don't know enough about bodybuilding. Sorry. What's his name? Ronnie Coleman. That's the one. Ronnie Coleman, John. Thank you. Yeah, he was supposed to be over in August or July, but he was in hospital. Yeah, I think he had a blood infection or something like that. But yeah, he's supposed to be coming back to the gym once he's better, and she has her ticket already for that one. So she's very excited about that. And from what I gather, and again, I'm not really a fan, Ronnie Coleman's a legend. Even I've heard of his name. So Johnny Sins said, what happened to that Cade Gordon kid Remember when we had the excitement with him as we do for Rio? Again, unfortunately, it's been injuries, mate. And like you're right, I was so excited about Cade Gordon. Every time he got the ball at his feet, he looked brilliant. But injuries haven't, and he hasn't really pushed on. So far, it's probably looking like another loan for Cade, but no doubt that he's a talent. But it's difficult. There's so many promising young players. Like there was one player now, I can't think of his name. Used to play for Liverpool, came through, and he's now playing for Waterford United. And it was Jordan Rossiter. That's the one. Remember when we were talking about Jordan Rossiter as some kind of Steven Gerrard clone, and he's playing for Waterford United now. So yeah, it's difficult to really make that last jump. It's the most difficult one in football to make, is from that 15, 16, 17 age bracket into senior football. Do you think there's a chance of Rio going out for a loan? Said ESC Chris. I really don't, Chris. I think he's destined to stay around this season, and I think he'll get plenty of opportunities. So, yeah, I'm really excited by him. But from my best guesses, I think he'll be staying this season. David said, is Isak coming? So again, we haven't got a confirmation on it, mate. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you 100% he's coming. But I'm telling you, I'm feeling far more confident as each day goes by. Especially when you look at what Newcastle are doing. So there's a post today. So we know Newcastle are trying to get Šeško. I think, we can all be adult about that. But there was another post that said that Craig Hope, again of the Daily Mail, said Nicholas Jackson has been added to Newcastle's list of potential strikers. Ollie Watkins has been added to the list. We know they've been looking to try and get Johan Visa in as well, and Benjamin Šeško. So they're looking like they want two strikers, and you can only assume they're doing that because they know they're going to lose Isak. And Isak's already made it pretty clear he doesn't want to go to Saudi. He's already publicly turned that down. So where else is he going to go? Have you seen this Hat Nunez comment? No? Don't know what you're on about there, unknown user. Niall said, Craig, are you worried about too much change in the team with all these signings? Very worried about our defence. No, I'm not really. Concerned about the defence for a different reason. But when you break it down, I don't think there'll be too many huge changes to a starting 11. Like the spine of the team is still going to be there. Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Maka, Gravenberch. So what we haven't seen this season, like I said at the start of the stream, is a very strong Liverpool team out yet. We haven't seen Maka kick a ball in pre-season because he's coming back. Today was Virgil's first game back in pre-season. Oh, sorry, he played Stoke, didn't he, Virgil? But we didn't see him for the Preston game. So we haven't seen our strongest side out yet. And they haven't really given us a look at it. And that's what I'd like to see. I'm hoping we get to see it for the Bilbao game at the very least, or maybe the Community Shield. But honestly, I think when you see our best, or a version of our best 11 out there, we're going to be very difficult to live with. Wardy, how are we, dude? Wardy LFC said, I'm a Liverpool fan from the northeast of England, and it's funny how bitter the Newcastle fans are about Isak. So look, one thing I will always say is, we're all hypocrites as football fans, and we should embrace that. So I've seen loads of Newcastle fans praising Visa for trying to force through the move, while at the same time moaning about Isak doing it. And I'm not going to call them out for that, because fuck it, I'd probably do the same thing in their shoes. I get it. But at what point do we just have to admit that, he wants it, it's a huge amount of money. Yes, Newcastle need to save face in the situation, but it's not like Liverpool are trying to come in and get him for 40 or 50 million. You're talking about a record fee here if we come in for him. So, and also with the DIAZ sale, I don't think we sell DIAZ or enter into this conversation unless, again, we believe we're bringing another attacker or two. Andrew, how are we, mate? I'm liking the look of the young centre-back that played lately. Maybe only one needed. So if you're talking about Stevenson, he's actually a DM that's playing at centre-back. But like yourself, Very impressed with what I've seen of him so far. Played at right back today in the first half, but I think that's who you're talking about, Andrew. And 20 months as a member as well, mate. Thank you so much. Would you rather 2 centre-backs and no Isak, or Isak and no centre-backs? 2 centre-backs and no Isak. Definitely. What are we saying, chat? It's a good question. Phil's question. Would you rather 2 centre-backs and no Isak, or Isak and no centre-backs? For me, 100% the 2 centre-backs. As much as I'd love Isak, I said the other night, I'm not going to lose sleep if we don't sign him, because I fully believe we'll bring in another top-level attacker. So, yeah, centre-backs for me, because I think that's badly needed. Yeah, of course, Hammer makes a good point. It depends who the centre-backs are, but we'd have to assume if we're signing 2 centre-backs, they'd be good centre-backs. Few Isak shouts in there. Interesting. If we didn't have Ekitike, I might sway the other way. But the fact we've got in a forward now, I would go for the centre-backs. Because I remember we've never had a problem scoring goals, but I remember the days when we couldn't defend well enough, and that was costing us proper runs at the league title. Rio's actually insanely good, said Tony. Could genuinely go on loan to a top championship team or low prem and start week in, week out. I agree. He won't go on loan, at least I don't think, but certainly agree with you, mate. I mean, I wouldn't even loan him to an English team. If I was to loan out young Rio right now, I'd be sending him to the Bundesliga, because I think he'd get great experience over there and would play week in and week out, and it's a high-level league. So I wouldn't be loaning him down to the Championship, where he might get kicked around a little bit by, let's just say a little bit lower level defenders who are a little bit more physical. I think somewhere like Germany would be far more sensible. Keith said left is less of a problem. Gakpo, good year last year on the left. Ekitike already said he will play off of front positions. Centre back critical. Love the show. Thank you. And I agree with you, Keith. Centre back right now, if we're to say what's the next signing, I'm with you, Keith, and I think most of the chat will be as well, mate. And thank you so much for your kind words about the show as well. Really appreciate you. Yeah, definitely, Will. 100%, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Everything you said, spot on. Do I actually have to try and decipher this, mate? Hang on. Hi, Craig. Watched Lucas Stevenson play at Barrow. Was a right back. He was good. Somebody did say to me he played at right back before, actually, Will. Because I think there was some confusion in our Discord group about whether he was a right back or a defensive midfielder. But thank you for that one. You've seen him more up close and personal over a longer time, so yeah, fair play. I'm actually quite proud of myself as well for being able to figure that out. Ragnar Klavan. Oh, if you bring in Ragnar Klavan, that's it. League's over. Champions League's over. Done. Ain't nobody living with him with a drop of that Ragnar Klavan shoulder and a little Cruyff turn. Peller said, Craig, heard about Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan's deaths. I have, mate, yes. Not really. I wasn't into Black Sabbath. I'm not into rock music, really. But certainly knew who Ozzy Osbourne was, and watched the show we had on MTV back in the day with the family as well, the Osbournes. But Hulk Hogan was a huge part of my childhood. God, I was a massive WWE and then WWF and then WWE fan. And I think anybody that's ever watched wrestling, especially of my era, would Hulk Hogan was the icon. Obviously, the character and the real life man Terry may be very different, but yes, certainly 2 big losses to the world this week. And like you said, on top of that, Giada died as well. Your dad is ill. Tragic, sad month. And two years to the day, I think today as well, that we lost Sinead O'Connor over here in Ireland. Another fantastic entertainer and incredible singer. S4T said, I'm probably going to get stick for this, but I would even sell Jones this window. Interesting. I'm trying to think. All right, let me ask this question. In the spirit of what you've said, mate. Right. Let's go. So in the spirit of what you said, sell one of these, Jones or Elliot. I'm curious to see, has Jones rescued himself in the minds of the fans? Because last year I thought Jones had a really good season. So sell one of those two, Elliot or Jones, and let's see what people think. But again, appreciate the super chat, my friend. I'd like to actually know your real name, if that's okay, so I can stop referring to you as S4T. Sounds like a Welsh TV channel. Ryan said, do you worry/care about preseason defeats? No, not at all. Give me 5 preseason defeats than 2 injuries. So, yeah, all I worry about in preseason is injuries. And, yeah, you do want to see relationships form around the pitch and whatnot. And it's never nice to see your team lose, but no, I don't lose a second's sleep over a preseason friendly loss. Especially when you see so many changes and the fact we're nowhere near our strongest team out there. Up the Welsh. Love you, Craig. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. And all my Celtic brothers and sisters. Brutal poll question. Is death an option? Not quite, no, mate. I wouldn't wish that on any of us. But it's a tough question. But it's one that I wanted to see which one people would go with. Because I feel if I asked this question 18 months ago, the answer would be Jones. I'd be really confident the answer would be people would be selling Jones. But I'm interested now to see if Jones under Arnott and the fact that he's had more of an influence, if people have changed their minds a bit. Alejandro said, I actually don't get the problem people have with Curtis. It's unreal. The online stick he gets. Let's just remember, folks, he's a homegrown player. So here's the problem in a nutshell, right? And this is how I've seen, as a Liverpool fan who's been on social media for 8 years running this channel and doing podcasts. I feel that there is a subsection of fans that won't change their mind. And once they make their mind up on a player, that's the end of it. There's no turning back. And I feel like Jones falls into that category. Now, I wrote Curtis Jones off many times, but I also said this Curtis Jones is progressing rather nicely, and under Arne Slot looks like he's more in tune with the system and the way we want to play. So I'll have opinions that people will always disagree with, but I'm never afraid to change my view. Just look at FSG as an example. I've been banging on about FSG for years, and I always promise that when they start spending the money and backing the manager, you won't hear a peep from me moaning about them. And I'm a man of my word. So for Jones, 2 years ago, didn't want that to do with him, but he's rescued the situation, in my opinion. But there is a subsection of Liverpool fans who just refuse to change their mind, and that becomes an agenda then. And it was the same with Lallana. Lallana got some of that as well, and he never really recovered from it. People just made their mind up early, and they weren't having it when he was doing good things. So there always has to be a fall guy. That's one thing I've learned. There always has to be a scapegoat and a fall guy. And if you are unlucky enough to be chosen as one of those by a subsection of the fan base, it's difficult times. My name is Ryan, but many others in the chat are also Ryan, so hence the alias. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you as well, Ryan, and thank you. I'll certainly remember your name as Ryan, because we've got Ryan in our Discord group as well. I love your username, mate, but you know, let's just say Richard in her bouteille. Let's call you that, Mr. in her. We'll call you Richard in her bouteille. Hendo also falls into that category. He does, and I never got it. Like, I have my own anger with Hendo about the way he left, but as a player and when he was at the club, I never got it. I never got some of the crap he got about sideways, backwards. I thought it was really clear what Jordan Henderson was doing in our team, and he was the legs of that midfield for years. And I never understood some of the crap that he was getting. And it's also really difficult at times to tell online who really is a Liverpool fan and who's just in on a wind-up. The real Johnny Sin said Jones is 25 and will never break into the first team. I don't think he's too far away at the minute, mate, to be honest. He'd be down the pecking order all right, but look at last season. He was the backup to Szoboszlai, and I think did it quite well. In some games, even him and Szoboszlai had that rotational thing where one of them was deeper and then one of them was breaking forward. So I think under Arne, he's got more chances than maybe under Jurgen, or maybe I'm just thinking of it differently, but I feel like he's progressed a bit. But again, I guess I always test myself with, would we have signed this player? If he wasn't at the club, would we have signed him? And I definitely don't think we would have signed Curtis Jones. I think the fact that he came through, he's homegrown, Scouse heartbeat is important in the team, in my opinion, but I don't think we'd ever have signed him. Itachi said, Isak is happening, isn't it? I think it is. I'm always very reticent to say this because I don't want people to think that I'm telling you something as a fact. But you asked me, do I think it's happening? I do. Yesterday I was unsure. Yesterday I think my answer was, if he leaves Newcastle, I believe we're the only place he's going to go. But seeing what Newcastle are doing, looking to do, the players they're going after, I can't help but feel he's going to join us. So, yeah. I'm going to say he joins. But we'll ask that in a second. We'll ask that as the next poll question. Okay, so there are people apparently who are trying to say that Gomez is out till February and that Joyce has said it. He hasn't. So I think we need to stop believing all the bait that people are putting into the chat. If Paul Joyce had said that he was out till February, I'd have that in my inbox now and we'd be talking about it. So yeah, don't get stressed about some people in the chat on a wind up. We don't know what the situation is with Gomez, but I don't think it's even a serious injury from the way Arno was speaking. Jay's Mighty Red Army, thank you, bro, for gifting 5 memberships. Very kind of you. Rachel said, I love making cakes. Rachel, perfect partner. I love eating them. You make them, I'll eat them. Sounds like a match made in heaven. John Joe, how are we, dude? Said, hi, sorry I missed the stream. Any updates on Isak? Just that Newcastle are really shopping around to bring in a couple of forwards, mate. So we know that Newcastle are going after Šeško. Now Nicholas Jackson is another name, as well as Ollie Watkins. It looks like they may have given up on Visa, at least for now. But they look like they want to bring in 2 attackers. One, let's say, expensive one, and maybe one in the 30, 40 million pound bracket. Have you seen the links to Douglas Luiz? Thoughts? I feel like every summer there are links to Douglas Luiz, and there were links last summer. There were links when he was at Villa before that. So I haven't seen them. I've heard of them, but I don't believe them. Yeah, I don't believe them. Sorry, I had to take a second to check myself there just to make sure. No, I don't believe those links. It's a tough one because I could see a world where him being back up to Gravenberch may do a job in certain circumstances, but I just don't think it's happening. I just don't. Paul Beer said shirt sales about to go through the roof. Yeah, I'm going to say that there's going to be a record amount of shirts sold very quickly when these kits get released next Friday. Yeah, I can only imagine. And the squad numbers have to be announced as well. Dunner, how are you, mate? Said Jones and Elliot can go, both don't meet the standard. Well, if we start getting rid of everybody, then we're getting into that too many changes stuff. And right now, I love the options we have in midfield. we need cover for DM, I think. Whether that's going to come from internally or not, I think that's a fair point. But after that, I think we've got a very good midfield. Soboslai, McAllister, Gravenberg, Wirtz, Elliot at the minute, Jones is there, Endo's there. We have Morton, who I think will be moved on, Trainioni, Stefan Bojcetic to come back in. I'm like you, Craig. I like Angelo Stiller if we needed to bring in a DM. I think it would be a good, solid buy for not ridiculous money. Gary, how are we, dude? Craig, rumour is that FSU's ego was hurt with Where's the Money John merch. What a transfer window. You're welcome. I like to think I single-handedly caused this transfer window spend, mate. I wish, imagine. But either way, look, I'm really happy and grateful for it as a Liverpool fan to see the way we're moving. But I want to make one other point, which sounds a little bit greedy, but for all the great the transfer window has been, and my goodness it has, it's not done yet. We still need to see through this and make sure that we finish the window and we don't still feel like we have a gap in the squad. Because with the amount of money we're spending, I feel like we need to see it through now. Get the centre-back, get another attacker, and then see what happens with regards to maybe another option as a central defensive midfielder or having maybe another centre-back. This one. Hi, Craig. If you had to guess, when do you think we get our next signing or sale? Thank you for all you do. Love the channel. Thank you, mate. Sale, I think, will come relatively soon. I think the DIAZ stuff looks like it's moving along. So I would be surprised if we don't have something by the end of next week on that. Player coming in, it's a total guess because I really just don't know. I think Isak will go longer. So I think centre-back will probably be the next signing. Who that is, I don't know. But I would guess centre-back in and DIAZ out will be the next ones. Also, I mentioned this earlier on. Keep an eye on Atalanta for Chiesa. They're looking to sell Ademola Lookman. There's talk of maybe Ademola Lookman going to Juventus. And then if they get that money for Lookman, they're going to come back in to look at Chiesa. Bet 150 quid with my mate Arsenal will win the Prem or the Champions League. I'm trying to think, is that a good or a bad bet, mate? I don't think it's the worst bet in the world. Of the two, I think you're probably more likely in the Prem. But obviously I still think we're the favourites. But I don't know, I don't see Arsenal having the pedigree for the Champions League yet. To be honest with you, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing them a disservice, but I think they're more likely for the league in your bet. But I still don't think it's going to happen. John Joe said, "Been a fan of LFC for 30 years, and I went to the final in Istanbul. Never been prouder to be a fan with how we've been in this market." Well, like yourself, John Joe, I was also there. Lucky enough to be in Athens as well. Well, lucky to be there, but the result wasn't great. But like you, mate, I've been a Liverpool fan since I was 8 years of age. 35 years now, and I can't argue what you've said about this summer. John Joe is absolutely incredible. If we get Isak, is this the best transfer window of any football club in the history of football? Because I can't think of many that have been better. So many people still sleeping on how good Florian Wirtz is going to be, and by sleeping on, I mean outside our fan base. I just think this is the best transfer of any club in the history of football if we get Isak. Which is a big claim, I know, but I think it's a worthy one. Right, we need to get up to 2,000 votes, so we asked you for shits and giggles, sell one of these, Jones or Elliot, and we'll come back to it in a few minutes. And then I want to ask you your take on the Isak situation as well. On paper, yes, but we have to perform on the pitch too. Very fair point, very fair point. Craig, do you watch the Irish national team games? Yeah, I'd watch them, but I wouldn't say I'm incredibly invested in them. It's a bit of a shambles at the minute. It's very difficult as an Irish football fan to look at the Icelandic dentist who was sacked from Jamaica and think that he's going to suddenly change our fortune. So, tough going, but some good quality Irish young players coming through. I think the loan move for Evan Ferguson to Rome is going to be very good for him as well, and hopefully for the country. King Kenny. Hey Craig, love the show. In the modern game, you need the Joneses and those players Endo to win trophies to come on to see out games. End of. I agree. Certainly do. The Endos, the James Milners of this world. And Jones is a very, very good squad player as well. So I'm with you on that one, King Kenny. And thank you for your kind words about the show. Ferguson scored 4 in a friendly. I know I'd seen it. Very impressive to do that in his first pre-season game in a Roma shirt. But yeah, I wouldn't say the level of opposition was the greatest, but still very good. What was this one? Dazzer, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Thank you. Itachi. Isak turned down 600k a week to join us. I love him already. And with his qualities and playing alongside Mo, Wirtz and Ekitike, this is better than 53 times. So 600 grand a week is certainly, and not just that, Itachi, I'll go a bit further. It's 600 grand a week tax-free that he turned down, which is basically like £1 million a week in the European League. So he turned down an incredible amount of money because he has ambition to win big trophies. And that's what I said about Newcastle. This isn't going to be Isak saying he doesn't care about Newcastle. Of course he does. This is Isak, in my opinion, saying I'm 25, I'm in my prime, and I don't think, in my prime, Newcastle will be ready to challenge for the Premier League and the Champions League. That's how I read this situation. And I think he's nothing but respect for Newcastle fans. Why wouldn't he be? They've been brilliant with him. But I just feel this is a career-oriented decision and not an anti-Newcastle decision for Isak. That's genuinely the way I look at it. This one from Elvis Presley said, thoughts on Eddie Howe speaking on Isak today. I actually commend Eddie Howe for how honest he's been and his understanding that a footballer's career is short. And I think he's laying the groundwork for a sale. I know everybody has to say, we hope he stays, but I really just feel the groundwork's been laid for a sale. I just do. Wow, John Joe, thank you, mate. Thank you so much. This super chat is just to support Move to America and doing this a while back and it being amazing. Helping me keep up with our club. Keep doing a great job. Best streamer I've watched for football in a long time. Thank you, man. That's incredibly complimentary and I really appreciate it. Thank you. I never got it, John Joe. I don't understand why people tune in. I've said this over and over again, maybe because I'm an incredibly insecure fella, but I'm very proud of what we've done together here on the channel and where we're going. I'm getting my hope up that maybe we get 1 million someday. I always ruled it out, but I don't know. Something feels that if we get a break or two, 1 million might not be impossible. And I think it's absolutely criminal that there isn't a Liverpool channel with 1 million. So I'd love to be the one to maybe do it someday. Gary, and again, thank you so much, John Joe, mate. That was really kind of you. Who would you rather have in this Liverpool team, Prime Torres or Prime Suarez? And do you think Ekitike will play off the left if Isak joins? So some of the time, I think, yes, he will play off the left. Some of the time, I think maybe we'll rotate and he'll play in central. Who would I rather have in this team? Suarez. And here's why. Torres was brilliant in behind and had pace and power. But I think Suarez's ability to just do mad shit and skillful shit and nutmeg people and work in tight spaces and tight areas would work really well against the low block that we often come up against. So I would say Suarez. Dara, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. Ryan said, I feel so bad for Kelleher. Gets to a club to see so many players leave, refuse to train, as well as their manager leave. Can't see them staying up. I'd be a liar if I told you that I wasn't concerned for Brentford and for Kelleher's move. Especially looking at Newcastle and missing out on Trafford as well. I'll never understand why Newcastle didn't go for Kelleher. I'll never understand why Moore didn't go for Kelleher. More teams in the Prem. because I think to see Trafford going to Man City for 40 million, which was the first refusal option, I think it's nuts that Newcastle didn't move for Kelleher before that. I think they would have loved him up there. I think he's better than what they have up there, and it was a very reasonable fee as well. Scouts Will said Isak and Flo slap the Richards on the table. Yes, sir. It's filth, isn't it? It's just filth. Just even the idea of it. Like Connor sent me a graphic the other day, Will, of a potential Liverpool front five, and it's insanity, mate. Just looking at it and thinking, that's actually possible. This is actually possible. You probably noticed a little cut in my face, by the way. New blade on the razor. I don't know if that happens to any other men when they're shaving their head and face, but every time I put a new blade on the razor, I either nick my head or I nick my face when I'm shaving with the new blade. I think I need to be a little bit more careful, but yeah, just caught myself earlier on. Dara, how are we, Dara Joyce? And thank you, mate. Again, appreciate you. Craig, you're a legend. Also, I find this window so weird. Every time I get excited about signings, I immediately feel guilty for feeling excited because of poor Diogo. I completely get that sentiment, Dara. It speaks to how respected Diogo was. And look, do I think maybe I would have liked to have sold him? I said that before, yeah. I would have considered that, but it doesn't mean I don't think he's a wonderful human being. It doesn't mean that I didn't love him at the football club, and it doesn't mean that it isn't a damn tragedy that he isn't with his wife and his family. It still feels surreal, mate. Honestly, it does. Like, talking about the statue, by the way, that came up earlier on. Where was it? I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but where's this one that was posted earlier on? So basically, Liverpool are unveiling a statue outside, a sculpture outside Anfield. I'm just trying to find the words of it. I think I deleted it. So it was confirmed earlier on by Paul Gorst of the newspaper that shall not be mentioned that Liverpool are unveiling a sculpture outside Anfield. And of course, the players are going to wear a Forever 20 patch this season as well. Right, so we've gone over 2,000 votes and we asked, sell one of these. 64% said they would sell Harvey Elliott over Curtis Jones. Thank you to everyone that took part in the poll, because I think if we asked that question even a year ago, I think the roles would have been reversed. But again, thank you for taking part. Do you know when Maka is back? Wednesday he should be playing, David. He started back training. He was they gave him a little bit of a longer break, and I think he was nursing an injury or two, but he's going to be back and hopefully be involved on Wednesday, according to Arna anyway. That's bullshit. Simply, Billy, it's bullshit. Not having a pop at you, mate, because I'm sure you read it in good faith, but it's not true. People are trying to credit it to Paul Joyce, who hasn't said it yet. And even if you look at Arna, there wasn't talk that it was a big injury. You look at his body language and the way he spoke, he was talking about it being a niggle, nothing too serious. So, yeah, I just don't think that's the case, that it's going to be till February. Because what? Jesus. It's an ACL, you might be back by February. So, something about his Achilles, no, I can't believe it'd be that long. And I also don't think that's true. But again, not having a pop at you, because I know some other people have been talking about it as well. Right. Let's ask about Isak. So, this is my favourite question every night. Do we sign Isak? Yes or no? I'm intrigued by this, by the way. I'm intrigued to see how people are feeling as each day goes by and a little bit more news comes out. Have you seen that we're going to be doing a monument to Diogo? Yes, I was speaking about it just a little bit earlier. There's going to be a sculpture outside of Anfield unveiled, which is, again, a lovely gesture. Oh, also, while we're talking about things like that, our last show in Liverpool If you want to come along, well, there's another reason now to help and come along. I'm donating all of the ticket sale money from our side of this to Joe's Wheelchair Fund. You'll see a link for Joe's GoFundMe in the description of all of our streams. And we decided that we want to help push Joe towards that $7,000. So all the ticket sale money from Anfield Agenda side is going to be going to Joe's GoFundMe to help try and get him that wheelchair basketball chair. So if you do want to help out, or you want to come and see us for the last time, the last show we did in Liverpool, we donated all the money from that to the fund for the victims from the Liverpool parade tragedy as well. So again, feels fitting this time for it to be my last ever show to donate that money to Joe for that wheelchair, and hopefully we can get him to the 7,000 needed eventually. What do we got? Want us to smash this window and go for it, said Lewis Noble. How do I feel about Pulisic? I've always been a fan of Christian Pulisic. When he was at Borussia Dortmund, I wanted Liverpool to sign him, but I think he found a good home in Milan and a club that's suiting him, and he's doing well over there. I did miss a super chat. Thank you. I did miss a super chat from John Henry. Thank you, mate. Appreciate you for that. Let me just find it and come back. And I apologise. I hate when I miss a super chat. I think I missed this one as well, maybe. Jones can play in all three midfield positions. Great squad player. Where is the other one, though? That one. Doué as the Mo replacement in 1-2 years' time. I think he'd do very well to get him out of PSG, but as a player, a big fan. Big fan of Doué. I think he's really good. I'd far prefer him over the likes of Barcola, who had been linked with us a little bit, but Desiree Doué is phenomenal, and yeah, I love him, but I don't think we'll get him at a PSG. Unless something dramatic happens at PSG and they start to fall apart or something. Was this it? Yes, this is the one. So Paul Gorst said Liverpool have commissioned a sculpture to be made in honour of Diogo Jota outside Anfield, while the players will wear a patch to remember their colleague during the 2 games in Asia, starting tonight against AC Milan. That was indeed the one, Mark. Thank you. We'll get you, Mal. Oh, imagine. What a player. Our centre-back situation worries me, to be fair. If Canade leaves, we're very thin at the back. What's your view on the back line? Oh, there's no disagreement for me whatsoever. I think we're light now. We asked earlier on, David, how many centre-backs right now as things stand do people feel we need? And the answer was 2. One immediately, but yeah, I can't argue with that, mate. We definitely are light at the back. Newcastle should be looking at Ivan Toney. I'm trying to think of the tax implications. I don't think Ivan Toney has been in Saudi long enough that if he came back to the Prem, I think he'd end up being taxed 50% or something like that, to the best of my understanding. I think you have to be, it's either 18 months or 2 years. I think it's a full 2 years outside the UK. So yeah, that's why I don't think that would happen, and that's why I don't think we looked at Duran either. Until he signed, Craig, I'm still in the no camp. Sorry. Don't apologise to me, dude. It's all good. You're entitled to your opinion. But the way I would push back if I was to debate you on this is, why do you think they're looking to bring in 2 strikers? That's what I keep coming back to. Newcastle wanted Visa and Sesko. Now they're talking about Ollie Watkins and Sesko, or Ollie Watkins and Nicholas Jackson. I don't see why they'd be bringing in or looking to bring in 2 forwards unless they're preparing to sell Isak. And we know Isak wants to come to Liverpool, so that's why I'm getting a bit more confident with it. United want Watkins. United want everybody. Let's be honest. Like, United tried to move for Ekatike. United tried to move for every forward under the sun. But if I'm Ollie Watkins, why would I go to United? It doesn't add up to me. No European football. Whereas if you go to Newcastle, at least you're playing Champions League football. Aston Villa, Europa League football, I think, next season. But yeah, he's not a fan either. He's an Arsenal fan, so I just don't see the big appeal of him going to United. Morgan Gibbs-White signing a new Forest contract. Is he? That's interesting. That is interesting because obviously we knew that there was the release clause triggered by Spurs, but then Forest were getting all litigious about it. Grafenberg Sam just misses one game, mate. The opening game of the season, just the first one. Watkins to Newcastle would actually make a load of sense. It'd be a good signing for them. What if they brought in Watkins and Sesko? That's a good front line. It's two decent players there to be bringing in. Kerry Donegal, Craig. Who's winning? I'm gonna guess Kerry, but I don't know. Let's say Kerry. Isak is preparing for life after Salah. Never going to replace his goals from the wing. Getting a world-class goal scorer is so important. I agree. I think what you said there is spot on, mate. Ekatise and Isak is cheating. It's Ekatisak. I christened this the other day. Ekatisak is the name for those two together. That's what we're going with. Give Newcastle United Elliot and Nunez for Isak. Again, the players have to want to go in the other direction as well. Where do we think Elliot does end up if he leaves Liverpool, by the way? I don't see him going to West Ham. I think that would be a silly move for him because West Ham are in a bit of trouble. So I don't, unless they sell Paqueta and they want to bring in Elliot as a replacement for him. But even then, I wouldn't move there if I was Elliot. Newcastle, if I was Harvey Elliott, I'd absolutely be open to joining Newcastle if I was to leave. I think it'd be a move that their fan base would love him, and I think he'd do very well up there. And again, you get Champions League football there this season with Newcastle as well if you were Harvey Elliott. Brentford, he's not going near Brentford, mate. Come on. You'd be mad to go to Brentford. Of all the clubs interested in him, Brentford are strikerless or very nearly strikerless. New manager in. No, I wouldn't be Brentford if I was him. I'd avoid that like the plague. Kyle Van Arde said, my personal opinion, Craig, I don't want Elliot leaving. I get that, mate. I'm a big Harvey Elliott fan. But I look at it this way. His minutes were limited last season and we've just brought in Wirtz. It's only going to get worse for him. And he deserves to play regularly. And I don't think he's going to be a starter for Liverpool in the majority of the games. So that's why I think it's probably the right time to take that step for him, which is a difficult one. And I hope we put a buyback in it. Maybe Spurs for Elliot now. Maybe, yeah. If they lost that Morgan Gibbs-White, maybe they look at the likes of a Harvey Elliott. Not too bad. Craig, how do I deal with anxiety? This is going to sound like a smart arse answer, and I don't mean it to, but go to the doctor because it's the right answer and it's the right advice to give you. So I would say speak to a professional. That's what I do. That's why I'm saying it to you. Christopher, thank you, mate. Ryan said, if we get Isak, I hope Newcastle fans applaud him in game week 2. Oh, definitely, yeah. Of course they will. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't play him in game week 2 for what it's worth if we got him. I'd definitely be giving him that night off, or at least, yeah, I'd be giving him the night off. I don't think I'd even put him on the bench. Mutz, how are we doing? Mutz say what you see said, I think we need 3 centre-backs now, Gay, Collins and somebody young who can stay fit. Thanks to Joe Gomez, but we should just release him at this stage. Well, he signed a new contract, didn't he? A year ago, Joe? So, was it a year ago? I think it was about a year ago, if my memory's right. I just think, I love having Joe around, but I don't like the idea of relying on Joe, because I don't think you can with the way his injuries have been. So, if Joe's fit, great player to have across the back line, but I wouldn't be going into a season assuming he's going to be fit for the season as an option. I think that just sounds like silliness. We need 17 more likes to get to 1,000 on the stream, by the way. 17 more likes. I want to remind everybody as well that I won't be live tomorrow night. We're going out for dinner with relatives, so I will do a video tomorrow afternoon at some point, but we won't be live at all tomorrow night. Out for dinner, and then I promised Lucas I'd come back and watch Happy Gilmore 2 with him. Have I ever been to Croke Park? Yes, I have, mate. For football, well, for Gaelic football and to see Garth Brooks. Patricia said I would have kept Diaz and Nunez and not buy Isak, spend the money on 2 centre-backs. So, the money isn't the problem, Patricia, for the 2 centre-backs. The money's there to sign the centre-backs. So, I wouldn't be thinking we're spending money and then leaving ourselves short because of financial reasons at centre-back. And Diaz wanted to go because money. Because that's, I'm sorry, by the way, if anyone disagrees with that, but that's the only answer. Because no one's going to tell me Bayern to step up in his career from Liverpool. I don't believe that for 1 second. So it's only money. That's why. And he wants more money, and that's fine. That's no problem. Just, as I said, make sure the deal works for Liverpool, and then he can do what he wants. And Darwin, let's be honest, he's not good enough, and I don't want to look at another season of Darwin missing chances and all of us getting frustrated. Can we sign Isak and 2 centre-backs? Or we can, excuse me, sign Isak and 2 centre-backs, said Anime Kun. Cresswell, great shout on the 3rd player. Yeah, Cresswell, Charlie Cresswell's one to keep an eye on, and we're going to be talking about some of those options in the late video that I'm going to record at about 10:30. So keep an eye out for that one dropping at about 11:15. Dan said, Craig, watch every night, but mostly on TV apps, so never been able to comment. Hope all is good. Yeah, all is good with me, Dan, and thank you, mate, for your support. Appreciate you. Isak is an unnecessary expense at this point. Yes and no. After Ekitike came in, I'd get where you come from. But if we're going to lose Diaz, which we will, and we're probably going to lose Darwin, I think you'd want 2 centre-forwards in a season. And, you know, when we had Diogo and Darwin, we had 2. Ekitike's come in. If we lose Diaz, that's another option of a central player who we utilised there a lot last season. So I think it's needed still. Craig, are you leaving dinner if Isak's announced? No, but you'd probably see me do a late video. I'm not leaving dinner because it's an important family meal, so hope you enjoy Happy Gilmore 2 more than I did. So do I, to be honest, mate. But, you know, we watched on our last holiday, we watched it with Lucas, the original one, and promised them that we'd watch it on Sunday with him, the new one. Craig will live stream from the dinner table if it's announced. I wouldn't rule it out, to be fair. We can spend 250 million without selling any players, so the money is there. Absolutely. Like we've said before, Liverpool have the ability to spend £500 million this summer without breaking PSR. So it's not a lack of availability of money. So again, it's just going to be... I get on the centre-back, by the way. You won't hear me pushing back on anybody who's worried about a centre-back. But I'm just a bit more relaxed because I truly believe we're going to get one. Sam said, I still think we sign a winger with Isak if Diaz and Nunez leaves. I don't know what to think in that regard, Sam. I've gone back and forth on this. And I'm wondering now who that winger would be. Because I don't see us putting all the money into Rodrigo if we bought Isak and Ekitike. And Fofana might not be an option if the Everton move continues to progress. So then I'm looking around thinking, who might that winger be? Drumtum said Isak will be a super long-term signing. Could probably sell him Saudi in 5 years for what we're paying to get him now. I think what somebody said earlier on about the succession planning for Mo's goals is probably about right for Isak. That's kind of where my head would be at with it as well. Number 20, remember the reason for this season. Adam, thank you, mate. And we're never going to forget the Ogo, mate. Any news on Gay? Nothing new that I've seen, mate. Nope. He's still waiting for the offers to come in. Again, it's not because there's a lack of interest in Mark Gay from clubs. I just get the feeling he's waiting to see what Liverpool are going to do. But maybe I'm wrong on that. Even Newcastle knows he wants to leave Isak. Oh, he's told them flat out he wants to leave. There's no doubt about that at all. You've even got the correspondence to cover Newcastle up there saying he wants to leave. Craig Hope said this, and he covers the Newcastle patch for the Daily Mail, said Alexander Isak doesn't want a new contract at Newcastle. He wants Liverpool, and Newcastle know this. Also, Brentford have closed the door on a Johan Visa exit after Newcastle raised their bid to 30 plus million. Visa refusing to train and disappointed by Brentford's stance. Player feels Brentford have broken a pact allowing him to leave for 26 million and wants Champions League football. I think Rodrigo's world class and fits our needs better than Isak if we can only have one. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, but I disagree because of Rio. So if you had Gakpo, Rodrigo, you're probably blocking the pathway for Rio on that left side. Now, I know Rodrigo can play across the front three, but I don't know. I just don't think that package, including the wages, is going to be one that we move for, although I'm not going to be disappointed if we sign Rodrigo because he's a very good player. I just don't think it's likely. Hope is usually on it. Isak is coming. Well, he knows Newcastle very, very well. And like I said, covers them week in and week out. What about Yildiz? Chelsea apparently looking at him. I don't think Juventus want to sell. I think Juventus, from what I'm reading, Alex, want to give Yildiz a new contract. But he's a very good player. There's no denying that. Visa isn't the replacement for Isak. He's replacing Wilson. Sesko's replacing Isak. I don't know if that was aimed at me, Andrew, but I never said Visa was the replacement for Isak. What I've said is they're looking to bring in a 30 to 40 million pound striker and the big striker, 70 plus million, let's say. We have to sign Isak if we get the chance, as players like him don't come along very often. I'm all for Gay. I think he's essential. Not worried about another winger replacement for DIAZ. I'd love Gay. Even if Canade stays, I'd love to sign Mark Gay because I think it'd just be a really good piece of business for the club. Who would your dream Salah replacement be? Good question. Dream? I mean, Yamal's the answer to any question across the front line, to be fair, but realistic one, I don't have one. I don't have one at the minute who I think could step forward. A Doué, maybe, is another show. But again, the likelihood of getting him out of PSG is slim to none. But Doué, Yamal, they'd probably be the top two names on my list. Justin would like to go for Fofana. Everton have made a bid for him today. That was confirmed by Romano earlier on. So, here's a few things from Eddie Howe, by the way, earlier on, speaking about the future of the club and the future of Isak. He said, I've welcomed players back to the group and I've sold players. It's all part of being a football manager. Every situation we will take on an individual basis. But there's a wider picture here. There's a whole football club that has to make a decision. The manager has an opinion, but ultimately the decision rests with the board, especially with the money involved in modern day transfers. I see this challenge as part of the job. I've had a good grounding at Bournemouth in my early career when any player who did well was gone. The club will make the right decision with all the information that it has, ultimately to move the club forward. We're trying to improve the standard as best we can, regardless of Alex's situation. The team never stands still, and that's the way it's always been. To me, all of this is preparing the groundwork for a sale. Romano said Isak has already turned down Saudi options. He said no, his wish is to remain at the highest level in Europe. The real club in concrete talks for Isak was, is and remains Liverpool. I love reading that. I love reading that out loud because it really just makes me incredibly proud of the window we're having. Right. So we did ask, will we sign Isak? We've been asking this every day. We have nearly 2,000 votes, so we'll let it run for a little bit longer. I'm going to finish up in the next 5 minutes or so, but if you haven't voted on that one, please do. Question is, will we sign Isak? Also, if you haven't joined our WhatsApp community, don't forget you can scan that QR code on the screen there now, or the one in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And we're almost at 10,000 people in there. And also, don't forget we have a clips channel as well. Not sure if you're aware of that. Anfield Agenda clips. But do you not think that Rodrigo knows that if he wants more playing time, leave Madrid, he will know he will have to take a pay cut, but the rumours have gone quiet. So I'm wondering, are PSG going to make a play for Rodrigo? Are they going to watch and wait to see what happens? And if Liverpool don't move, then they'd be in an even stronger position to make a play. But I thought it was quite revealing that we haven't heard anything from Liverpool on Fofana since Everton made that play, because that's what I was going to be interested to see. If anybody moved for him, would we spring into action? And we're not. So you'd have to say then we seem fairly relaxed about the idea of him going somewhere else. Ben Doak will replace Salah. I think Ben Doak will be sold before the summer's over, Daryl, to be honest with you, mate. Any Mo Salah replacement in 2 years will have minimal pressure on them, as they won't have to score that many with the rest of the attack we have in place. I think that's a good point, Ryan. Thank you, mate. I'm just wondering, what do you think of the goals we can see today? I thought the third goal for AC Milan was an incredibly good goal, as was their first goal, by the way. But I thought their third goal was probably the most impressive of their goals. It was a really good team move. For us, Szoboszlai's goal was a really, really good finish. Caressed it into the top corner. But overall, just gave up too many chances at the back, really. Too many silly mistakes. But I don't read too much into it. It was a pre-season friendly. So Keane, what Ken said was reported the other night. He's not wrong. There was a report that said Paris Saint-Germain have bid €100 million for Rodrigo. I can't remember. I think it was on Transfer News Live or something, but there was a report that said that they'd bid €100 million. But it didn't really seem to grow after the initial report, if you get me. So usually something like that, if there's one report and it's credible, more people piling on top of it, but it didn't really seem to catch on. So I don't know if it was a spurious link or not. What time can I watch the game back? It's usually at midnight, isn't it, that they start to show these games, Mary, but I wouldn't be certain. If you've got all red, you could probably watch it back. We got cooked on transition. Yeah, they counter-attacked really, really well. And it's amazing how when you go direct like that, if you time it right, how well it looks. And again, for us, even for our first goal, that direct ball from Ryan Gravenberch in over the top to young Rio, I thought was an exquisite ball as well. Right, so let's finish up with this one. Do we sign Isak? 87% of over 2,000 people said, yes, Craig, we do sign Alexander Isak. That's the spirit. I love it. Nair and Rock said, what a shift from the days where we used to be linked to top players like Mbappe and we knew we couldn't afford it. Now we're going after top targets. Somebody really cooking in the management. It's amazing, isn't it? It is just amazing, dude. It's what a summer. And if Isak comes in and a centre-back, that's it. Just no point in anyone ever trying to say they've had a better window again, because that's just incredible. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to go record a late night update. We're going to talk about centre-back and options there as well in this video. So do keep an eye out for that one dropping in the next 20-25 minutes. Thank you again. It's been a long day for all of us today, but I really appreciate your support. Won't be live tomorrow night because, as I mentioned, I'm out for a family dinner. But I will put out a video tomorrow afternoon, and then I will see you guys on Monday. where we'll be back to our normal schedule. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful Saturday night, whatever you're doing. Appreciate you all. Thank you. We'll talk soon.